A serpent so vast it girdles the entire earth, bites its own tail. The day it lets go, the world begins to die. Before cities, before kings, before human beings had words for the sky or the sea or the dark thing moving beneath both, there were dragons. Not the dragons of fairy tales, not treasure-hoarding, princess-guarding creatures of children's stories. Something older. Something that existed before good and evil had been separated into two clean categories. Every great civilization looked into the chaos of existence and saw the same shape coiled inside it. Scales, venom, hunger without end. Norse, Egyptian, Hindu, Slavic, Japanese, Filipino, they called it different names. They told different stories. But the revelation at the center of each one was identical. The order of things is fragile, terrifyingly, miraculously fragile. And every single day the world continues to exist is not a given. It is a victory. Jormungandr. Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, the world serpent. Born the second child of Loki and the giantess Angrboda, one of 3 children so monstrous that Odin himself was forced to act. The eldest became the wolf, Fenrir, chained until the end of days. The youngest became Hel, ruler of the dead. The middle child, the serpent, Odin hurled into the ocean. He expected it to drown. The ocean became its cradle. It grew, past any size that has a name, past any scale the mind can hold. It grew until its body encircled the entire world, tail to jaw, a living ring around the rim of human existence. Then it bit down on its own tail. There it waited. Thor once tried to lift it without knowing what it was. A giant had disguised it as a cat. Thor raised one paw off the ground. That single paw nearly lifted the beast into the sky. He was lifting the weight of the entire world and barely moved it. He never forgot that. The prophecy is specific. When Jormungandr finally releases its tail and rises from the ocean, it will poison the sky. The seas will flood the land. During Ragnarok, Thor will meet it on the battlefield. He will kill it. Then he will walk exactly 9 steps before the venom drops him dead. The venom is so lethal that it kills a god after the god has already won. The Norse didn't find this hopeless. They found it honest. The courage it takes to face something you know will kill you, because facing it is still better than not. That is the deepest thing Norse mythology has to teach. Apophis, the serpent that swallows the sun. On the other side of the world, in the desert civilization that built its entire existence around the rhythm of the sun, another dragon wages a different kind of war. Not a war for the end of all things. A war fought every single night. The ancient Egyptians understood time differently than we do. For them, the rising of the sun each morning was not automatic. It was not guaranteed. It was the outcome of a battle, a cosmic struggle that had to be won again and again, night after night, with no permanent victory ever possible. At the center of that struggle, Apophis, Apep, the uncreated one. Apophis is older than the gods. It exists in the primordial chaos that preceded creation, the darkness and disorder that the universe was carved out of, and which constantly presses at the edges of existence, trying to reclaim what was taken from it. The serpent is not evil in the way we use the word. It is not malicious. It simply is. An embodiment of entropy, of dissolution, of the inevitable tendency of ordered things to come undone. Every night, Ra, the sun god, descends into the Duat, the Egyptian underworld, aboard his solar bark, the manned jet. He travels through 12 hours of darkness, through regions inhabited by the dead and by forces that would destroy him, in order to emerge transformed at dawn. This nightly journey is the mechanism that keeps the world alive. If Ra doesn't complete it, the sun doesn't rise. Apophis waits for him in the darkness. Its weapons are extraordinary and terrifying. Its gaze is hypnotic. A direct look from the serpent freezes any being in place, paralyzed, unable to act or resist. Its roar shakes the foundations of the underworld. Its body, which can stretch to fill entire regions of the duat, can coil around the solar bark like a living island, grounding it, stopping its passage. It can flood the underworld waters to swamp it. It can swallow the boat, and Ra with it, whole. Some nights, it nearly succeeds. The mythology around Apophis is unusually honest about failure. Ra does not always win cleanly. There are accounts of the serpent partially succeeding, swallowing Ra, holding him inside its belly, plunging the world into temporary darkness. Eclipses, in Egyptian understanding, were not astronomical events. They were the moments when Apophis had clamped its jaws around the sun and was dragging it into shadow. The visible darkness was proof of the serpent's power. But it never holds. Ra's defenders, Set, the god of storms and chaos, who in this context fights for order, Bastet, the fierce cat goddess, and the crew of the solar bark, armed with spears and fire, force the serpent to release its grip. In some accounts, Apophis is cut into pieces. In others, driven back with fire. But it cannot be killed permanently. It regenerates. It rises again the following night, restored to full size, ready to try once more. What makes this mythology remarkable is what it demands of ordinary people. The ancient Egyptians did not believe they were merely spectators of this nightly battle. They believed they were participants. Every temple in Egypt performed nightly rituals to aid Ra's passage through the underworld. Priests would create wax effigies of Apophis, write its name on papyrus, spit on it, stamp on it, slash it with a knife, then burn it while reciting spells of banishment. The destruction of the image, performed with genuine contempt and rage, was believed to weaken the actual serpent in the duat. They were fighting a dragon with fire and fury and ritual, every single night, because they understood that the sun was not guaranteed, that light had to be earned. There is something in that which cuts through 3,000 years of distance and lands with uncomfortable relevance. The darkness comes every night. What you do in the darkness matters. Nídhöggr, the gnawer at the root. Not all destruction is dramatic. Some of it is patient, methodical, working quietly at the foundation of things, while the world above carries on, unaware of how close the ground is to giving way. Nídhöggr, whose name translates roughly as malice striker or corpse gnawer, is the dragon that the Norse mythological tradition assigned to this quieter, more insidious kind of destruction. While Jormungandr circles the world and Fenrir strains at his chains, Nídhöggr simply chews. Day after day, age after age, at the roots of Yggdrasil, the immense cosmic ash tree, whose branches and roots hold all 9 realms of existence together. Yggdrasil is not simply a large tree, it is the architecture of reality. Its 3 roots reach into 3 different realms, one into Ausgardr, the realm of the gods, one into Jotunheimr, the realm of the giants, and one into Niflheim, the primordial realm of ice and mist, where Nídhöggr lives, gnawing in the cold and dark. The image is almost unbearably bleak when you sit with it. the structure that holds everything together, every world, every living being, every story that has ever been told or will be told, is being slowly eaten from below by a creature that will never stop, that feels no remorse, that has no purpose other than its own hunger and spite. While it gnaws, it has company in its cruelty. A squirrel, Ratatoskr, the drill tooth, runs endlessly up and down the length of Yggdrasil, carrying messages between Nídhöggr below and a great eagle that perches in the uppermost branches above. The messages are never kind. Ratatoskr is a gossip and an instigator, and the words it carries are insults, each one designed to enrage the recipients, to keep the hatred between dragon and eagle burning hot. That hatred has consequences. Every curse shudders through the tree. Every explosion of fury from Nídhöggr or the eagle leaves another scar in the bark, another crack in the wood, another weakening of the roots. The tree suffers for the rage of the creatures that inhabit it. And then there is what Nídhöggr feeds on besides roots. In Nastrond, a region of Hell's realm described as a hall built from the spines of serpents, its roof dripping venom, Nídhöggr feeds on the bodies of the worst of the dead. Murderers, adulterers, oath-breakers. Those who violated the bonds that hold human society together receive a punishment that echoes the crime, consumed by the same force that is consuming the bonds of the world itself. As Ragnarok approaches, the damage accumulates. The great tree yellows. It shudders. The roots begin to crack. In the Völuspá, the most complete account of Norse cosmology, the Völva, who narrates the poem, describes Nídhöggr in the final days flying up from the underworld, great dark wings beating, carrying the corpses of the dead on its back, like a banner of everything that has been lost. Its ultimate fate in Ragnarok is ambiguous in the old texts, which may be intentional. Some things don't get clean endings. Some things just keep going. What the myth of Nídhöggr understands, with a clarity that feels almost modern, is that the most dangerous destruction is the kind you can't see coming. The serpent that circles the world announces itself. The wolf that will devour the sun is kept in chains, because everyone knows what it can do. But the thing gnawing at the root, quiet, patient, constant, that is the one that brings the tree down.
Bakunawa, the Moon Eater. The Philippine archipelago produced a dragon mythology that feels, in some ways, the most heartbreaking of all. Because what Bakunawa hungers for is not power or territory or the death of gods. It hungers for beauty. Bakunawa is a sea serpent of immense size, dwelling in the deepest parts of the ocean, in the permanent dark where light from the surface never reaches. In the beginning of the world, the supreme god Bathala creates 7 moons to illuminate the night sky, 7 great luminous spheres, one for each night of the week, lavishing the world with silver light. Bakunawa rises from the deep and sees them, and something in that vision, the beauty of those lights hanging in the dark, the sheer improbability of so much radiance against so much void, breaks something open in the serpent. It cannot leave that beauty alone. It cannot simply admire it from below. It needs to possess it, to take it inside itself, to make that light part of itself rather than watch it from a distance. It surges upward and swallows the first moon whole. The world shakes, the seas churn, the people on the islands watch the sky go dark where a moon had been, and they are afraid. The serpent is satisfied, briefly, but satisfaction, for a creature of this kind, is only ever a pause before the next hunger. The beautiful thing it swallowed is gone now, dissolved inside it. The glow it wanted is extinguished. And there, still hanging in the sky, another moon, just as beautiful, just as unbearable. It swallows another, and another. 6 moons consumed, their silver light gone from the world forever, the tides disrupted, the nights darker than they were before. Only 1 moon remains, the last light. The stakes at this moment in the story are absolute. If Bakunawa reaches the 7th moon, the world doesn't simply lose a source of light, it loses the last proof that beautiful things can survive. Permanent darkness is not just a physical condition in this myth, it is a spiritual one. When the serpent rises for the 7th time, the people do not flee. They run to the shores of the islands and they make noise. Every pot, every pan, every drum, every voice, they beat and shout and scream at the water, calling back to the serpent, "Return our moon! Return what you have taken!" The noise startles Bakunawa. In a convulsion, it spits the moon back into the sky before closing its jaws and sinks back into the deep. What strikes me most about this myth is its simplicity and its power held together in the same moment. The people don't have weapons that can hurt Bakunawa. They don't have a warrior who can dive into the ocean and slay it. All they have is their voices. Their collective refusal to watch the last light disappear in silence. And that is enough. But Bakunawa doesn't forget. It doesn't give up. The full moon still rises every month, and still, periodically, goes dark. And the old stories say the serpent is still trying, still reaching upward from the deep, still unable to leave beauty alone. The noise the people make during a lunar eclipse is not merely traditional, it is necessary. It is a reminder that the light does not stay in the sky by itself. Someone has to call it back.
Yamata no Orochi, the sword in the monster. Japan's great dragon myth is also, at its deepest level, a story about what extraordinary things get hidden inside terrible ones. Yamata no Orochi is a creature of almost impossible scale. 8 heads, each crested with poisonous red camellias. 8 tails, dragging across 8 valleys and 8 hills simultaneously. A body so vast that moss and ancient cedar trees have taken root along its back, growing there as if it were a mountain range. Its eyes burn like autumn cherries, blood red, without warmth. Every year, the dragon comes. Every year, it demands one of the daughters of an elderly couple named Ashinazuchi and Tenazuchi. 7 years, 7 daughters. Now the 8th daughter, Kushinada Hime, whose name means something like the wondrous rice paddy princess, stands before her parents, and the serpent is coming again. Into this situation descends Susanoo, the storm god, freshly exiled from Takamagahara, the realm of the gods, following a catastrophic argument with his sister, Amaterasu, the sun goddess. He is at a low point. He is wandering. He encounters the family in their grief and makes them a proposition. Give him Kushinada Hime in marriage, and he will kill the dragon. His plan is elegant in its simplicity and deeply satisfying in its execution. He instructs the family to brew 8 enormous vats of sake, Yamashiro no Kusu, the strongest, most potent rice wine they can produce, and set each one on a raised platform around the perimeter of their land. Then they wait. Orochi arrives with all 8 heads, and each head finds its own barrel. The dragon, for all its terror, is not subtle about its appetites. 8 mouths drink in greedy unison. The sake is strong, and the dragon is very large, and even very large things can be overwhelmed by enough of the right kind of indulgence. The dragon sleeps. What Susanoo does next is not the work of a hero in the Western mold. There is no dramatic single combat, no rallying speech, no honorable duel. He simply draws his Totsuka no Tsurugi sword and begins to work. Head by head, tail by tail, dismantling the sleeping monster with methodical efficiency, hacking through scale and sinew, until he reaches the fourth tail. His blade stops. Something inside the tail is harder than anything the sword can cut. He splits the flesh carefully and reaches inside and pulls free a sword. Kusanagi no Tsurugi, the grass-cutting sword, one of the 3 imperial treasures of Japan, one of the most sacred objects in all of Japanese mythology. A weapon of tremendous power and spiritual significance, hidden inside a monster, swallowed and carried, perhaps for eons, inside the body of a creature that had no idea what it carried. This detail rewards contemplation. There are things of great value hidden inside terrible things. Suffering contains lessons. Monsters carry treasures without knowing it. The story doesn't explain how the sword came to be inside Orochi. It simply was, waiting for the moment when someone would cut through to find it. Sometimes the treasure is only accessible through the monster.
Fafnir, the monster you make yourself. Every dragon we have encountered so far has been a force of nature, something external, something that exists outside the human world and presses inward against it. Fafnir is different. Fafnir begins as a person. He is a dwarf, strong, fierce, recognizable, a type. Then, cursed gold enters his father's house, and Varanort, a ring forged with a curse so comprehensive it brings ruin to everyone who possesses it. Fafnir looks at the hoard and decides it should be his. He kills his father, drives off his brother, and takes everything to a desolate wasteland called the Glittering Heath. Then he lies down on top of it, and waits, and changes. The transformation is gradual, which is what makes it terrible. Greed doesn't turn you into a monster all at once. It does it incrementally, so slowly you might not notice until the scales have already closed over your skin. His fingers harden. His neck lengthens. His breath fills with actual venom until the ground around him is poisoned, the air toxic, the entire heath a wasteland of his own making. Year by year, century by century, more serpent and less dwarf, the person he was buried beneath the creature he chose to become. His venom projects something called the Ægishjálmur, the terror helm. A psychic dread that defeats most heroes before they ever see him. Not fear of a predator, a soul-deep conviction of one's own insignificance. Most turn back. Sigurd does not. And his method reveals something important. He doesn't charge. He studies. He learns the dragon's path to the river, digs a pit in the earth at that spot, and waits in darkness beneath the surface. When Fafnir passes overhead, Sigurd drives his sword upward through the soft underbelly, the one place the armor doesn't reach. Dying, Fafnir warns him. The gold destroyed me. It will destroy you. It will destroy everyone it touches. Sigurd listens, takes the gold anyway. The prophecy doesn't falter. Fafnir is the most uncomfortable dragon in world mythology. Not because he's the most frightening, but because his origin is the most recognizable. No cosmic accident, no divine decision. He made himself, one choice at a time, out of materials available to everyone. Greed, fear, violence, and the slow willingness to become something monstrous in service of something you've decided matters more than anything else.
Zmæ and Vritra, when the world runs dry. The Slavic Zmæ is the most recognizably human dragon, not an elemental force, but a tyrant who terrorizes because he always has, and has never faced consequences sufficient to make him stop. 3 heads, fire breath, impervious scales. He descends on villages and demands tribute like taxes paid to an occupying power. The hero Dobrynya Nikitic fights him twice, because the first fight produces a peace agreement and the dragon violates it immediately. It will agree to anything that keeps a blade from its throat and honor that agreement for exactly as long as recovery takes. The second fight lasts 3 days and 3 nights. When Dobrynya finally severs all 3 heads, the blood that spills refuses to soak into the ground. It rises, threatening to drown the hero in the blood of the thing he's just killed. Even dead, the dragon resists. Only a voice from heaven telling him the specific action required breaks the final hold. Then there is Vritra. In the Rig Veda, one of the oldest religious texts in human history, where Zmei Gorinich is a political tyrant, Vritra is cosmic catastrophe. A serpent of incomprehensible scale that swallows every body of water on earth. Oceans, rivers, lakes, all of it consumed, held prisoner inside its body. The world withers. Life dries into dust. The name itself means the enveloper, the one who holds. The gods forge the Vajra, the divine thunderbolt, and place it in the hands of Indra. What follows is a war across the face of creation. When the blow finally comes and the serpent splits open, the waters rush out in a catastrophic flood that refills everything at once. Rivers running, seas restored, rain on cracked earth. Vritra's defeat is remembered as the most important victory ever won in Hindu tradition. Not because it saved the gods, because it saved the possibility of life itself. What the dragons teach. We have traveled through frozen seas and desert underworlds, through the roots of cosmic trees and the depths of the Pacific, through desolate heaths where greed poisoned the air, and through island shores where people screamed at the dark until it gave back the light. In every case, a dragon. In every case, something irreplaceable at stake. And in every case, someone who faces it anyway. These stories come from cultures separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, with no shared language, no common texts, no contact with each other. And yet, they all looked into the darkness and saw the same shape, because the darkness always has the same shape. Every civilization that has ever existed understood that the order we live inside, the warmth, the light, the water, the fragile network of trust and meaning that makes human life possible, is not a default state. It is an achievement, built and maintained against forces that would undo it. The dragons are those forces. What the myths refuse to do is leave us there. Every culture that told these stories also told the story of what comes after. The thunder god dying on the battlefield, but not before the serpent dies first. The people on the shore screaming their moon back from the sky. The hero in the pit waiting in darkness with more patience than fear. The thunderbolt that splits the enveloper open and lets the waters run free. The dragons are not here to tell us the world is hopeless. They are here to tell us the world is hard, and that we were made for exactly that. Every dawn you have ever seen was won. Every drop of clean water is a victory. Every moment of beauty that survives into another day, these are not accidents. They are the outcome of every battle that came before. The serpent is always there, coiled, patient, waiting. But so is the thunder. So are the people on the shore. So is the hero in the darkness, blade ready, counting the footsteps overhead. The world does not endure by accident. It endures because someone always faces the serpent, and it has always, just barely, been enough.
If you made it this far, you already know which dragon hits hardest for you. Tell me in the comments, I want to know. And if you want more of this, mythology, history, the stories that civilizations built themselves around, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.